How's it, my Orchids and Fynbos friends? Dave here with another CareCollab video. So today we're going to be talking about the awesome Renanthera citrina. I'm going to be joining Nina from Ninja Orchids on this CareCollab video. So stay tuned if you want to see some cool tips and tricks to make this orchid an easy orchid for you to care for. Let's dive right in. So first off, I want to tell you about the natural area where this orchid is actually found. So this orchid is found in limestone areas in the north of Vietnam at elevations from about 800 to 1,200 meters. So it's in mountainous areas essentially. They are found in coniferous forests in a pretty high humid area. The orchid is commonly known as the lemon yellow Renanthera and is supposed to be super easy to care for. Just to understand the type of climate that these orchids are found in, temperatures in Vietnam are generally between 21 to 35 degrees Celsius, which is 70 to 95 degrees Fahrenheit. However, this orchid being from the north and in the mountainous areas, it can get a lot cooler, and on rare occasions it can even snow in those mountains. Vietnam has a monsoonal climate, and the north is a temperate region with cooler, dry winters and warm to hot summers. Now let's look specifically at the care requirements for this orchid. The light requirements are moderate to high. Generally they suggest around about Cattleya light. However, some growers have stated that it's better to keep the light a little bit lower, so more on the moderate side rather than high Cattleya light, to keep the leaves looking their greatest. The temperatures, again, if we look at the climate, the orchid is a cool to warm grower and likes high humidity. Many growers suggest that the orchid should be treated very similar to a Vanda type orchid, that when watered it should be drenched very well and should be watered pretty frequently. It should be allowed to dry out before the next watering, but not stay dry too long. The orchid blooms in late winter to spring and it has beautiful citrus yellow colored flowers with red spots. Now that we've got all the online care requirements and the natural climate of the orchid out the way, let me talk about how I specifically care for this orchid in my environment. For me, this orchid is potted in sphagnum moss in a clay pot. I received her in April 2020, so I've had it for about a year, and it's put out this new leaf growth at the top of the orchid. So this one over here, I think this is the Renanthera. Let's see, yes, the Renanthera citrina. Yeah, that's that one. I can see why growers say that the care should be similar to that of a Vanda. However, I found that keeping the orchid in sphagnum moss, when it does get wet, it gets drenched and it holds that water for about a day or so. But I only water the orchid about twice a week, sometimes in certain times of the year once a week. Generally, you would say that wouldn't be sufficient water, but for me, she's been doing pretty well with those requirements, so I will not change anything. When an orchid's doing well, I'm not going to change anything. There are no signs of dehydration on the orchid and she's looking very happy. I chose the clay pot and the sphagnum moss to keep the roots very airy, but also allow them to take up as much moisture as they can when the orchid is watered. I fertilize the orchid normally, as with all my other orchids, weekly. In terms of temperature, my environment in this grow space, which is where this orchid remains, is pretty warm. In winter it can get cooler in the evenings. However, this room is probably the warmest room that I have in the house in winter. During the day, the sun shines through. It's pretty bright here, as you can see. This orchid will get bright light through a sheer curtain. The leaves do have a good coloring on them, and I pretty much think that it is getting sufficient light in my conditions. So those are the care requirements in my environment for the Renanthera citrina. Please make sure you head over to Nina at Ninja Orchids, where she will be showing you this orchid in beautiful bloom. Stay safe, guys. Bye.